let's get a little bit more into Eury and what's going on, because it wasn't only this start, it was his previous start against the Mets that was also a mess. If you combine the two, 12 earned runs over those 4 2/3 innings in a way that we haven't seen him struggle like that in back-to-back starts before. He didn't get out of the first inning against the Mets, even though he was able to labor through 4 innings this time. It really wasn't much better. The 8 hits he allowed is a career high. The 7 earned runs he allowed, also a career high. He has never been worse than this at any other point in his young career. So his season ERA all of a sudden is up to 4.66, which is significantly worse than league average for a guy that not that long ago, just a few weeks ago, we were saying, wow, well, I mean, everything was going exactly as planned with him, that this was actually looking like a successful year for him. And man, like, you can kind of excuse away his last start against the Mets, because the Mets have been an awesome offensive team for a while now. And the fact is that like, things can happen really weird in a single inning against a great team, but this is a Nats team. You touched on it. They had Nasim Nunez in their lineup. They had Jorge Alfaro playing his first major league game in a couple of years. This is not a good lineup at all that he went up against. One that has been playing terribly for so much of the year, and yet it's kind of a similar result where he gets hit really hard in this one. It's yeah. What do you make of? You wrote the recap on this one in particular. So what is the concern level with Eury at this stage, where for the most part this has been a successful bounce back for Tommy John, and then all of a sudden this road trip all of a sudden kind of changes the way that we look at his season overall.
Yeah, I wouldn't make it too high, but definitely some concern. I think there needs to be a little bit of a change in the pitch mix. Like, I think we were noting this, like the fastball is just getting crushed. Like, like it was not good at all. And it got 20 swings, only 2 whiffs. So it seems like the Nationals are seeing that pitch extremely well. And he threw it 50% of the time. So he essentially completely let the secondary stuff, the breaking pitches, just not even use them. He used his slider 17 times, 22% of the time. The changeup only threw it 8 times, curveball 7, sweeper 6, and fastball threw it 38 times. That just can't happen. And it became pretty predictable throughout the whole game. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's too high. I think he makes his next start, not in this upcoming series, but the next one. So, yeah, just got to see what happens with the area. I wouldn't say the concern is too high. I just think there's a couple things he does need to change. And I don't know what, I didn't check the pitch mix stuff from the last game, but this one, it seemed, it's just fastball heavy, way too fastball heavy, something that I don't think he really had done in previous starts before this one. It had been a little bit more, he mixed his pitches a lot better, which definitely was working. I mean, you look at the numbers, but the last 2 starts, yeah, they've been really bad. And the Mets, you noted, that's been a pretty good team, but still the Marlins took 3 out of 4. So you're like, all right, whatever. One blow-up start, it happens to anyone, right? But now back-to-back where it's just been really bad, and it was a career-high 7 earned runs today.
And the only reason I'm not more concerned, frankly, is just obviously there's been an adjustment period between some of these guys, particularly the ones returning from Tommy John and Sandy and Eury, and the coaching staff, the new analytically driven way that they're going about their pitchers. And the best pitch that you have, they're going to throw it the most. And I feel like there's an adjustment period between Eury and the coaching staff, as well as the league adjusting to the Marlins, sort of the way they go about their pitch mix. But I agree, Kevin, that if he goes out the next start, I think it would be Sunday. No, maybe Monday. I'm sorry. If he struggles again, you're going to have to be a little bit concerned. But remember, Sandy also had a really tough time coming back from the surgery.
What I'll say about today in particular is it was more so just an issue with his control overall. Well, control and commands. The control being that he was getting behind in the count quite a few times. If you look at the Jorge Alfaro double, that was in a 2-0 count. I looked at the Nasim homer, that was in a 2-1 count. And so he was missing with his fastball when he was throwing it. And he was also just falling behind in counts in general, where guys can kind of tee up on the fastball and look out for it in the first place. So it was a combination, I think, of both those things, which are correctable. That's kind of what made Eury such a standout young pitcher in the first place, is that he has this freakish build, and he's also able to repeat it so well and usually locate his stuff very precisely. And that has not been the case, especially in this one. It's kind of hard to gauge the last outing because it was only 39 pitches, and this one twice as long. But even outside of that first inning today, he was still having issues with putting the ball where he wanted to. He sometimes, if you like look at his season overall, like he can throw his fastball down the middle on a lot of days and get it by guys. It's not necessarily always an issue, but when you're also behind in the count, and when Kevin, you're pointing it out, where if he throws it a lot and all of a sudden teams are preparing for that particular pitch, then it could, on certain matchups, it could be a lot worse than even if he looks healthy, even if he's throwing almost as hard as he usually does. Like the results can be pretty bad on a particular day if you just run into a team that has the right plan for you. So yeah, I'm not super concerned. It is, yeah, no doubt frustrating for him, and but all things considered, I think he's going to be all right and still has time for what should be 1, 2, 3, at least 4 more starts this season to go into the offseason on a higher note in his case. Now he's at a place in a workload wise. I think he has now thrown just a little bit more innings this year than he did back in 2023. So there's fatigue can always factor into that stuff too. Not placing the ball where you want to just because all of a sudden you're not repeating your delivery as well because you're tired. So that stuff factors into it, but certainly not an injury concern when he's throwing as hard as he is. But yeah, so all things considered, not too broken up about it.